Go ahead, disappoint people. The only way you're ever gonna be able to achieve your dream life is if you become comfortable with the fact that people are not gonna like you for wanting your dream life. First step towards actually achieving your dream life is to be honest with yourself about the fact that you want certain things for yourself. And when you become honest with yourself about you wanting certain things for yourself, you're going to start moving more intentionally in the direction of actually achieving your dream life, just through you being honest about you wanting that. And what does that have to do with disappointing people? A lot of people today are afraid of dreaming and essentially afraid of being honest about the life that they want to live. They don't want people to see them as someone who wants too much. They don't want to have people look at them weird for wanting more. And in order not to feel any discomfort, they settle for the life that they have right now in order not to offend anyone. But then 20 years down the line, that person who settled for a specific life to please others is going to feel stuck. And what kept them from actually going out and achieving their dream life was the fact that they didn't want to offend anyone. Well, the truth is, if you are going to achieve your dream life, you're going to have to get extremely comfortable with uncomfortability. And what does that uncomfortability mean? It means you have to be comfortable with disappointing people that have some fixed idea about who you are. You have to be comfortable cutting out these people that have some fixed idea about who you are. These things are going to be really uncomfortable. Say you're someone who wants a life where they're taken care of and they want a husband who's a provider. If you grew up in a society where everyone's preaching this 50-50 men and women should split the bills thing, and every one of your girlfriends has boyfriends that they split the rent with, it's going to feel nearly impossible for you to step into that person who actually gets her bills paid and who has a man who takes care of her. Because the people you surround yourself with, they're not living that type of life. So you saying that you want that is going to come off ridiculous to them. To some of them, they actually might want exactly the thing that you're honest about wanting. But when you tell them about the fact that you want that, they're going to try to make you believe that that's not what you want because they weren't bold enough to go for it themselves. This is why it can be crucial for you to cut out the people from your life that do not resonate with the life you're trying to live. This is going to be extremely uncomfortable, especially in the beginning, and especially if you're someone like me who used to be an incredible people pleaser, who thought they needed to be around people and needed to hold on to friendships and people you met some random time that you're still following on Instagram in order for you to be a good enough human being. Every time you go back to people or circumstances that make you want to people please them and put your dreams on hold, you are disappointing your future self. You are disappointing and procrastinating your dream life. Because you're afraid of disappointing others that are not even remotely interested in going for the life they want. If you do not take the step towards becoming uncomfortable by being by yourself instead of being around others, by fueling your dreams for the life that you truly want and making consistent action towards making that dream life true, you're settling for the same things that the people that you're trying to cut out are settling for. Let's take this example. Maybe you really want to be a business owner. You want to grow a business. You want to attract abundance. You don't want to have to work a 9-to-5. And your best friend is working a 9-to-5. And your best friends around you are working a 9-to-5. Not even your best friend, just the people around you. When you sit down with them and talk on your regular little coffee date, if you tell people about the dream that you have of owning your own business, if they actually wanted to have a business themselves, but they don't want to go for it, they're going to try to put you down for wanting the life that you truly want. They're going to try to come up with all of these arguments that this is not who you are truly and that it's impossible. Or are you sure that that's you? If they were completely satisfied with the lives they were living, they would not care an inch about the fact that you are trying to achieve your dream life. They would be applauding you. But as soon as they start saying, are you sure about that? I just want the best for you. That's when you should be thinking, this is wrong. No one who's truly happy with the life they're living or the journey that they're on towards getting something more are ever going to tell you to humble yourself or not think big. So if you're around people that are constantly telling you I'm not sure you should do that. I could never do that. They're verbally, very clearly expressing to you that they don't want you to excel. They don't want you to live a better life because it's a threat to them. If you're someone like me who has a lot of empathy towards people, and you don't want to disappoint anyone, you just don't want to make them feel uncomfortable around you, you're going to lower your frequency in order for them to feel better. Because the thing is, when you become a better person and you work on yourself and you work on your dream, your frequency is going to rise. But the people you've been around that are not trying to make their lives better, their frequency is going to be down here. When you enter into social interactions with them, they will never be able to make the jump towards your frequency. So there's going to be a lot of tension in the room with the people you're talking to if you're not on the same frequency. You can literally feel that something is off. They can't jump to your level because they don't have the skills and the tools that you have. So the only thing that's possible for you to do is to lower your frequency to be on their level. So every single time you're trying not to disappoint someone, you are disappointing your future self because you're lowering your vibration and your frequency to make people more comfortable in your company. This is why it is essential that you cut out people from your life that are not trying to make their lives better. You have to cut out people with victim complexes that blame everything on the world. Even if it's your family members, you have to stop talking to them way less, as little as possible. You might have to cut out your friend you've had for 15 years. If they're not on the same wavelength as you, you simply can't afford being around them. Think about it like this. Every day you're awarded certain amount of time. This time can either be spent on bettering yourself, getting closer to the life that you truly want, putting things in motions toward that life, or it can be spent repeating the same cycles and the same patterns that you've had before. Every time you choose to go back to people that tell you, well, I'm not sure whether that's you, you're going to take away from the time that you could spend on yourself. And more so, you're actually going to take that energy. You're going to become extremely burned out because maybe you've been a people pleaser your whole life and you just want people to feel good in your company. So whenever you interact with people that have victim complexes or are negative or who just don't want to take responsibility for creating their own dream lives, or even just people who don't want to dream, you are going to be compensating for their behavior. The way you're going to be compensating for their behavior is you're going to take all of the energy that you have saved up towards actually working on yourself and you're going to spend it. And the way that you spend it is by justifying their behavior. Say you're around someone with a victim complex or someone who's really negative, who always blames everything on the world. The way you are going to be spending your energy is by validating their ideas. If they're constantly negative, you're going to be drawn to be more negative in their company. Because if you're positive, that's literally making your aura and your frequency uncomfortable for that negative person. They're going to see you as a threat, and because you don't want to be seen as a threat, you start validating their negative behavior. You start validating that they are a victim and that the whole world is against them. When you validate all of that, you're literally going against the life that you want to live because you cannot validate someone who's living a life that you do not agree with. If you find yourself in a situation where you are forced to listen to someone who's very negative and you cannot remove yourself from that situation, the thing you should be doing is not agreeing with them. It is just letting them talk and making it very clear that you're not interested in interacting with that type of behavior. You don't have to be rude. You don't have to be pessimistic. Let me give you an example. Say you have a parent who's very negative, who's always blaming everything on everyone, and you know that you should not be spending that much time around this person, but it's a family member, sometimes you will end up talking. When they start bringing up negativity or the victim mindset that they have, instead of saying, oh yeah, I totally get you, or I'm so sorry, you just say, or you try to make the conversation about something else. Maybe your mom is talking about how everyone on her job hates her. Because you're her kid, she's really gonna target your psyche because most likely she's been doing that your whole life anyways. The way you become resistant to that by making it very clear, not by telling her, I don't want to talk about this, but by drawing attention to something else, that this is not something you're gonna entertain. Maybe you say something like, oh, by the way, I went to see this movie this week. It was really good. You remember that time where we went to the movies and it was really fun. With some people, this will work. The conversation will be more light, but with some people, it won't work. They will keep going back to the same little crack in the surface. Basically, they're a broken record. And you should not be putting your energy into a broken record, because they're going to want you to fall into the same cracks that they did in order to feel that the choices that they've made aren't so bad. Actually, in order to feel that it is impossible for them to change their lives. They want you to repeat the same patterns as them so you can fulfill the prophecy that they've lived out in order for them to strengthen their own alibi that they cannot change their life and that the whole world is against them. Anytime someone is trying to make you feel like you're disappointing them by not feeding into their ego and their idea about how terrible the world is and how it's against them, you need to fight that uncomfortability within yourself. Because the only reason they're bringing that up is because they are uncomfortable with the fact that you are progressing in your life, that you're living a different life that they are. And especially if it's family members, a lot of family members, especially mothers towards their eldest daughters, have a lot of resentment towards the fact that their kids want more or want different than them. And when you're younger than them, it is so important that you zoom in on your self-work away from them when possible. Because if you do not want to live the life that your family members are living, if you do not want to be as resentful as your family members are, you have to make different choices in your life. The reason they're stuck where they are is most likely because they didn't want to disappoint anyone. Maybe they felt that their family was holding them back, but they did not resist the urge. They did not build themselves strong enough to be able to excel beyond their family. So they got stuck in the same patterns over and over again. And now that you're fresh, you're new, you have all of these dreams and ideas that you want to pursue, they're going to want to shoot that down because they don't like the fact that you have the opportunity to do that. You have the opportunity to change your life. And they know very well that they also have those opportunities, but they're not gonna. People are a mirror towards the behavior that you exude. What this means is when you start leveling up your life and becoming a better version of yourself, doing your self-work, doing your shadow work, people are going to become more and more disappointed in you. You are gonna get more and more haters because the people you've been running around dealing with before, you've all been on this level of frequency. Maybe you did a little self-work, so your frequency was a little bit more, but it wasn't scary. It wasn't threatening. It wasn't so obvious that it made people's skin crawl and made them want to tell you that you shouldn't be doing that. But when you exit and you go into mental self-work exile for a while, then your frequency has a chance to expand and grow beyond reasoning. You will go from being down here close to where everyone else is, that you've been hanging around for years and years and years, to being more here and then being here. And now, when you suddenly go back and you meet some of these people that are still on this level, there's going to be a big difference between your frequencies, and that's going to be felt through uncomfortability for both of you. And it is important that you do not give in to this uncomfortability, because now you've worked enough on yourself to be able to excel your frequency even more. Before you know it, your frequency will be so high that the people down here can't even reach you anymore. They can shout and they can shout and they can shout about how you shouldn't do this and how you're disappointing them, but then you won't be able to hear it because your frequency is out of this world. It's too far away for them to be able to hit you with all of the things that are making them uncomfortable about you being better. When they're here and you're here, in order for you to get up here and beyond, you need to resist the urge to give in to the uncomfortability you feel around people that are quote unquote disappointed in you. Let's talk about it like this. Your whole life, you've been used to flying economy. And we're not just talking economy, we're talking the worst economy seats. You know how it feels to be in economy. You don't know what it feels to be in business or even first class. So the only people you can resonate with are the people that are flying economy. And the other people in economy are not going to think anything about you because you're all just flying economy. Even if you move up to, economy plus or the one where you have a little bit more extra leg room, it's not like you're that big of a threat. People are going to be like, oh yeah, you're getting the extra leg room. They're not going to think too much about it. Then you move up into business class. You get your nice seat, you get your champagne, and there's a clear curtain between you and the people in economy. First and foremost, you're going to be pre-boarding. So when people walk past you on the plane, they're going to be looking at you. And it might feel a little weird in the beginning when you're in business class to be the one who's in the nice seat with the nice things, while everyone else is sitting back in economy. You earned it. You deserve to be in this seat. You're much more comfortable than you were before in economy. Your frequency is up here, but you can still see down to economy. You can still kind of feel the vibe that they're giving off, and it might be making you a little uncomfortable. And it might also be making them in economy a little uncomfortable about you, because they might be feeling, oh yeah, you're up there and you're having a great time and I'm just down here. Why are you spending so much money on a plane ticket? It's just a plane ticket. Why can't you fly economy like everyone else? Are you too good for that? Maybe you're going on a trip with some of your friends and they can only afford to fly economy, but you've gotten used to being in business class, so you're going to get business class. They're going to make you feel weird about that. You can still see the people that have the low frequency when you're still elevating your frequency. You're still on the same plane as the people in economy, but you're just in a much better seat. And the reason why people are mad at you for being in business class and for not being in economy, it's not so much because they don't want to be in business class. If they could pick right there and then that they wanted to be in business class, they would be in business class. But they would rather complain and make you feel bad about being in business class than do the work that they need to do in order to get to business class, because they want to spend all of their energy on complaining instead of spending it on themselves so they can make the moves to actually get to business class. Say your friends who are going to be sitting in economy tell you, why don't you just book economy with us? Are you too good for that? This is where you have to be firm and not feed into their BS about how you're disappointing them by being in business class. And you have to be like, yeah, I'm going to be in business class. Your friends are going to become really uncomfortable and you're going to be uncomfortable too. But you have to get over this uncomfortability. And because you're in business class, you're going to end up talking to other people in business class. AKA, when you're in this frequency, you're going to end up attracting more people on your frequency. But if you are on this frequency and you go back to the people in this frequency, those are the type of people you're going to be around. So you're going to be lowering your frequency. Same with you. If you're like, okay, I'm going to go into economy with you guys. You could afford business class. You could be sitting in the comfortable seat. You could be around people that are also on the same level. But because you're uncomfortable, because they make you feel like you're disappointing them, you stoop back down into economy. You felt like you compromised yourself in order to make them feel comfortable. Eventually, you're not going to want to go on trips with your friends that sit in economy because they're always making it about being in economy. They're always making it about being in a low frequency. They're not interested in rising to your level. They don't see you being successful as an opportunity for themselves. They see it as something that is threatening their home environment in their brain. When you don't stoop down to their level, and when you're very firm about not stooping down on their level, and you keep being on a high frequency, that's when you're going to feel more and more comfortable naturally removing them from your life. And they're actually going to remove themselves because you're going to feel like too much of a threat to them. Unless they actually make the leap and start making their own lives better. But generally, they're not going to do that. Anyways, now you're in business class, you're on your higher frequency. You're talking to more business class people. Maybe the first couple times where you're in business class and you're traveling alone on your spiritual journey, you're going to be feeling a little intimidated and you have to get used to being in business class. But eventually, that's just going to feel natural to you. You're going to feel at home. That's going to be your new comfortable. You're going to be starting to talk to people with a much higher frequency. When you're on this frequency and everyone else is on this frequency, you're going to start seeing people who are on this frequency and a frequency that's even further beyond. When you're in business class, you're more likely to have encountered people that have flown on private jets. And when you've let go of the people that are on the down low, bare minimum, actually not even bare minimum, but scraping the ground frequency, when you've cut those people out of your life, you're going to have so much more time, so much less burnout to actually be able to pick up on the higher frequencies. And you're going to become more and more comfortable with the fact that you could even be on the private jet. You still have the people in economy when you're in business class looking at you, sending you weird looks like you're disappointing them. But then when you're on the private jet, suddenly you don't even have to face the people that give you weird looks. You don't have to be in the same room as them. And you know what happens when you get to that private plane level of frequency? Or even when you just start interacting with people of that private plane level of frequency, you're not going to feel like you're disappointing anyone anymore. You're going to want to rise to a new level. You're going to see so many new possibilities that you didn't see before because you were busy trying to make people happy that are not even interested in making themselves happy. Now your head is above the clouds. You don't have to look at the people that are sending you scorning looks about you being in first class. You are literally on a private plane. And then the sky becomes the limit. And this jump will literally make you able to achieve and manifest anything that you truly want. Because suddenly you are not tethered to your feelings about how people feel about you. Because in reality, it's never really about other people. Their energies will have a huge impact on you. That's true. But the reason their energy has a lot of impact on you is because you're letting it have an impact on you. Because you haven't strengthened your mind and gotten to that private plane level of frequency. What do you think someone who flies a private plane everywhere thinks about the people that are telling them that they're greedy for flying a private plane? Or that they should just be in economy like everyone else? They don't care. Their mind is above that. They have so many other things that are way above that to think about. That someone saying you should be in economy like everyone else, it's literally them being on top of a hill and someone at the bottom of that hill shouting as loud as they can. There's a great chance that they might not even hear it. They're so far away from their consciousness. This is why when you're beginning your self-work journey and you're starting to explore your potential and you're starting to realize the life that you truly want, you need to be more alone and you need to be more intentional with the energy you give out, aka the people you are around. Because you are not yet at the top of that hill where you can't hear everyone. You are still getting up the hill and you will still be able to hear the people on the bottom of the hill shouting to you that they don't believe that you can do it. The only way for you to get to the hill and to the peace where no one can tell you what you can or can't do, for you to keep climbing. And when it gets truly uncomfortable, that's when you're in the sweet spot where you can kind of hear a muffled voice telling you that you shouldn't go further. You're not yet far enough away that you can't hear the voice from the ground telling you that you shouldn't proceed. But you're just far enough that with the next couple of steps, it's going to become even more muffled. This is where a lot of people give up. They can hear that little voice from the ground shouting, I don't believe you can do it. You should come back down. It's dangerous. I couldn't do anything like this. I'll be so disappointed if you don't do this. And you know that in a couple steps, you won't be able to hear that voice at all. And that is scary because that voice is what's keeping you grounded in your current reality. And when you get to your new reality, there is no one shouting anymore. And that's almost more scary than someone telling you how you should feel about what you're doing. So a lot of people have a tendency when the sound starts getting muffled, aka their frequency is about to rise beyond, but they can still hear the little guy on the bottom of the hill, on the bottom of the mountain telling them, you shouldn't go. But now it's not, you shouldn't go. Now it's, you shouldn't go. They're like, ooh, I'm far up now. Maybe they're saying something different too. Maybe I should go down and really hear what they're saying much more clearly. And then they give up and they go back down. And you know what the little guy at the bottom of the mountain is going to say? Oh, I knew you couldn't make it. I'm so glad I kept shouting at you. I was just here to protect you and help you and make you feel good. But in reality, that's literally him talking to his own ego. I'm here to make you feel good. I'm here to make you feel less uncomfortable. People feel so uncomfortable within their own bodies when they see someone who's successful and whose frequency is extremely high that they start being literally verbal about it. They start wanting to shout it at the people. They feel so uncomfortable with the thought inside their head that they have to turn it into actual words. Because they don't want to do the work that they need to do in order to tame that thought, in order to control that thought and control their own reality. They just want to have it let go. So they push it aside by pushing it onto someone else. And they usually want to push it onto someone else who's not quite there yet, who's really doing a lot to work on themselves. Their nervous system becomes calm when you step back on the ground from not doing the things that you wanted to do. Because you're no longer a threat to them. You're no longer a threat to the alibi they've created. You're no longer making them uncomfortable, aka making them feel, you know what? I could do more work. You're proving them right in the fact that they couldn't do more work. But if you instead decide to keep climbing up the mountain, eventually that muffled shouting is just going to turn into no noise. And when you get to the top of the mountain or the top of the hill, You're going to have a completely new perspective. You're going to look down at the guy who was shouting at you and saying, you shouldn't go, you shouldn't go. And he's going to be the size of a grain of sand. You might not even be able to see him. The only thing now is you can see everything around you. You can see the big picture. That's what happens when you take your frequency from here till here. Think about Elphaba in Wicked. When she decides to leap out, despite Glinda trying to tell her maybe she should stay back, maybe she shouldn't jump on her broom. Maybe she should just stay where she was. The hardest part were her getting over the threshold of just making the jump, taking the leap. And as soon as she's in the air, suddenly she understands that she's unlimited, that it is possible for her to defy gravity and be the person that she wants to be. She could never have gotten there if she had stayed back and listened to what everyone was telling her. And then when she's actually flying high, the whole world of Oz is telling her that she's wicked, that she's wrong, and that she should be persecuted. But you know what? She's so high on her broom that it doesn't matter to her anymore. She can fly wherever she wants to go. She can be whoever she wants to be. She took that leap. If you don't know about Wicked, and this is just a bunch of nonsense to you, go watch Wicked. Watch it with all of this in mind. Even if you have watched Wicked before, go watch it again. You need to be the one defying gravity. And the only way for you to find out if you actually defy gravity is for you to leap into the air. Is for you to be in that uncomfortable space where you don't actually know if you're going to be making it because there's no way back. You take this leap of faith. There's no one coming to save you. And this is the exact same thing that happened when you cut out the people that are holding you back. It is going to be extremely uncomfortable because you want to be around people. But these are not the people that are going to support you in your highest purpose. And the only way you're going to be able to achieve your highest purpose is to be brave enough to cut them out of your life so you don't have that lifeline to fall back on. So that you don't have the comfortability and the cushion, so you don't have a cushion of people you can fall back on. When you've removed the cushion of people that are negative and victim mindset, that are telling you, oh, I'm sorry you didn't make it, or trying to tell you that you can't make it, you have nothing to fall back on. And when you have nothing and no one to fall back on, you are going to do what you need to do to fly. Because you do not want to hit the ground. You have to untether yourself from the chains that you have put on yourself. The chains that connect you to people that might have once been the same frequency as you. You have to cut them off. You have to be willing to run free of the imprisonment you've been in without knowing where that's going to take you. When you take that leap of faith, there's no going back. You cannot glue the chains back on. You are free. And every time you disappoint someone, you know that you're stepping in to your higher purpose. And the more you're stepping into your higher purpose, the less you're going to be hearing the voices of those that are saying that they're disappointed in you. You need to be comfortable disappointing people in order not to disappoint your future and dream self.